The speech objective is to use storytelling skills to tell a story about a historical event or person. Her speech time is 7 and 9 minutes.
Green light at 5 minutes. Yellow light.
That's 7.
Oh, sorry. Green light at 7 minutes. Yellow light at 8 minutes. And red light at 9 minutes with 30 seconds to wrap up.
Thank you. The speech title is The Significance of the Life You Lead. Gaia Calcaterra.
Good evening, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most distinguished guests. Today, July 18th, 2018, is a very special and important day for 2 reasons. 1, it is the birthday of President Nelson Mandela, and 2, had he lived, today would have been his 100th birthday. And so there are centenary celebrations happening all over the world today in celebration of this remarkable leader and the father of our nation. And it was he who once said that what counts is not the life that you lead, but the difference that you make in people's lives that will determine the significance of the life that you have led. And so in order to continue his legacy that was so special and all about making a difference and of being of service to people, I carry around this black ribbon with me every single day that was from his funeral. And I'd like to take you back to that day. And it was December 2013 when we got the heartbreaking news in South Africa that our leader had passed away. And it felt like the lights had dimmed in the country, and the nation went into deep mourning. And over the next couple of days, they started to announce all the funeral arrangements and of where his body would be in an open casket and where we could walk past to pay our final respects. And so for me, it wasn't even a question. I knew that it was something that I had to do. I had a friend visiting from the US, and he was in South Africa with me. We canceled everything that we had planned for the following day. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, we got in the car and drove to Pretoria to the Union buildings, waiting to get into the line. We had no idea what was about to meet us. And we joined a throng of buses, cars, motorcycles, bicycles, minivans, people on foot. They were coming from every possible direction, and there were thousands of people getting in queues that were sometimes 5 people wide, and getting into them as quickly as possible. And so we didn't know what was happening, which queue to get into, but we parked the car, joined the nearest queue we could, and had no idea what to expect. Little did we know what lay ahead of us was a 12-hour wait under the African sun. But it was in those queues that all the magic happened that day. So in the rush of getting there, we didn't really notice who was in front of us or who was behind us. But as the day moved on, we started to make friends with the people that were in the queue around us. Behind us was this incredible gentleman by the name of Alistair, who he worked for an international ad agency in South Africa and had won multiple prizes. He was incredible. And in front of us was a gentleman who was a school principal, and he was here with his wife. She was a judge in a court, and they were here with their daughter, who was a school teacher. They had already started their pilgrimage early the day before and had taken numerous buses, taxis, and trains to be here at the funeral. And so throughout the day, we got to know each other deeply by asking each other questions, finding out about each other's lives, sharing stories. We shared what little food and water we'd brought to help get each other through the day. We shared the 2 umbrellas between 6 of us to try and protect us from the sun. We shared taking turns sitting in the shade every time we passed a little tree to give the older people a bit of rest in the shade while the others held their place in line. But most importantly, we shared stories. And we shared all the beautiful anecdotes and small little personal stories about this incredible man who had led our country so successfully. And it is in my opinion that really you see the colors of a true leader in these small stories. In these small stories, when the camera is not pointed at them or is facing a different direction, the stories told by the people, the personal stories of who this man was. And I shared a story with them that is so personal and dear to me. And this story happened over Christmas during Nelson Mandela's presidency. What had happened is it was Christmas time, so the time that all the workers get bonuses. And he worked from the union buildings in Pretoria. And for those of you who don't know, the union buildings in Pretoria are similar to the White House here in the States. And they're surrounded by these magnificent gardens that are beautifully manicured and taken care of. And who takes care of them are very, very simple laborers and gardeners. People with little or no education, people who have certainly never ever traveled, people who no one really ever pays attention to. And so that Christmas, Nelson Mandela decided that instead of just paying them their usual monetary bonuses, that he wanted to come up with something special and unique that would turn this into an experience for them. And so he did. He came up with the idea to get helicopters to arrive in the gardens, pick up the gardeners and the workers, and take them up into the air so that they could view their magnificent work from the sky down. Can you imagine the experience for a person like that? And to me, the incredible part is the thought process behind this gesture of this person. I mean, imagine a leader of a country and a leader of the world who has so many challenges on a day-to-day basis that actually stops to take the time to think, like, what would be of importance to these people and what would make a difference in their lives? To me, that is a true leader. And so by this time, we'd shared many, many of these stories, and it was beautiful to get to know him even better and feel even more connected. And by now, we'd reached the bottom of the stairs in the union building that were to lead up to his coffin. But all of a sudden, we were all overtaken by the emotion of the moment. And the emotion of really standing for the Rainbow Nation that Nelson Mandela had created. And for the fact that we were all complete strangers from different races and different backgrounds in a country that came from a lot of separation and animosity. And yet there we were standing, friends. And people started to get overwhelmed and started to cry with the emotion. And so we took each other by the hand, and in solidarity, we held each other's hands. And in single file, we made our way up to his open casket. And we were given 1 or 2 seconds to stand in front and pay our respects and say goodbye and thank you, Madiba. After that, we descended the stairs down to a platform where you could leave. And we hugged each other, still crying and still overwhelmed by the emotion of what we'd seen. It was so beautiful. And we were determined to stay in touch. We created such a bond and a friendship that day. It was beautiful. And so we exchanged numbers and we parted ways. 5 years later, we are still all in contact. And each of us, in our own way, bring forward the legacy of Mandela. And I encourage each of you to do the same. Make a difference in people's lives wherever you can, big or small, at every occasion that you have. Because it is this that will determine the significance of the life that you have led. And so from people all around the world on this very special day, from the bottom of our hearts, Nelson Mandela, we wish you a happy birthday. Mr. President.